And that transmission came in, it broke in, thousands of people heard it, I was one of them, and it warned governments, it spoke to the people watching the television news. That recording is available, you can see it going through my website, all of this is available. And again, there was a consistent message. There was a consistency throughout all of those sources that said that we're entering this period of time that we're now in. This has been going on for 30 years. And whilst the media in general have been, the question they've asked has been a question that a lot of researchers have limited themselves to, understandably, and that's, is the phenomena itself real or is it a hoax? And if both things are happening, which are real and which are hoaxes, that regrettably misses the most important question, which is, embracing all of it, is there something that's happening to the people involved in making them, researching them, finding them, with those that we can't explain? And the answer, after all these years, started with work that I was doing thanks to funding from Lawrence Rockefeller here in New York. In 1999 and the year 2000, I coordinated it was then a confidential, secret you might say, investigation into people making crop circles. And what came out of that was that the people making them are having exactly the same experiences, interactive experiences, as people like myself in researching them. And the very specifics of what I'm talking about, again, we've gone to great pains to pull out solid cases that have witnesses to them, which are simply unbelievable. These are experiences where suddenly somebody will, as I did in my shower that I've just related, I'm sure a lot of people watching would have had similar experiences when this particular person I'm now referring to is a person who has been making crop circles. He was watching television himself and he got this, what he describes as an urge. Well, this is the intuitive. Something's in contact with this person and he sees a pattern in his head. It was actually a small version of the flower of life, very sacred geometry. And he was prompted to make it, and not just make it then, right then. He sat there and thought that he could make this alone. A lot of people find this very hard to believe. But he went out, he got in his vehicle, I have the surveillance material to support this. He went out, he drove where he was prompted to go because he went where he felt to go, where he took his motor car to. And he came to a field, this is late in the season, several years ago. He stopped his vehicle, he walked into the field, he could hear some voices. And he stopped, he did a little process himself, which he does, a little prayer, meditation. Suddenly the temperature dropped, and we know a lot about that, and have been working on it for a number of years. There was a severe temperature gradient, and the moisture was condensed out of the air, which caused a fog to appear around him. He constructed that design in the field, not knowing, and nobody knew for several days, that the voices he was hearing was a group of 11 women who had themselves decided to go out into the same field behind some 3 trees that this is, I believe, in the book. It is in the book, but the actual locations are on my website. People can go and have a look at. They were meditating, and it was not a planned thing. They meditated on a design, and they asked, and I've personal experience of this myself, they asked for this pattern under deep, sincere meditation from that deepest part of your being, for that design to appear close to where they were. They thought and requested a flower of life design. This guy was the receiver, they were the transmitters. These are the 2 human types that we have in our society. And what they didn't know, nor he either, was that he manufactured what they had asked in that field at that time. I mean, minute for minute, it's right on the button. And I can give you many other, I'm allowing you to move on, because there are many other extremely similar stories. We've been in aircraft and done the same thing. Under the aircraft, what we have discussed as two private individuals, me in one seat, passenger seat, pilot in the other, and we'll make a comment, which I'll leave for people to read in the book. I don't want to spoil it for them. Very complex, extremely complex discussion about patterns, and below the aircraft, within 24 hours, the next time that aircraft went over that exact spot off the end of the approach to a major airfield, was the very pattern that we had discussed. It had never appeared on planet Earth anywhere at any time, and it appeared underneath the aircraft and related to what we were talking. You know, I think we said last time, and I'll stop at this point because I, holding some of the points too long, was that it has been with us for many years that something was looking over our shoulders. Invisible most of the time, and little prompts, you would know that something somewhere is listening to you. Something knows what's happening.
I have a ton of questions came up in my mind, but I wanted to say that you say 30 years ago, when I was searching about the meaning of life and where my place was and so forth, and I came up with finally was led to this group where I got all my answers from. And then we were told at that time that what you just said was going to happen, and that we would be, as they were in contact with, our brothers and sisters from other planets, and they were saying that they were going to help. When the particular time came, they were going to help. So between them and whatever the angels, the spirit beings, and our brothers and sisters from other planets, all together would be helping us with this. And you're right about the polar shifts, the change, everything that you said, I had heard myself 30 years ago.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
I mean, it feels good always to me to be understood.
I know. It gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, that this is what's been happening. I think people like ourselves, thinkers outside the box, I've experienced this, in my jobs, have had a hard run. And the hard run, because it's still happening to some degree in the media in general, is that we are prepared to think outside the box, and evolve towards the information where it leads us. And unfortunately, society in general has been so structured and engineered that certain words, are put out there very deliberately to curtail development, that curtails our consciousness being evolved. That some terms like terrorist, conspiracy, UFO, these are very deliberately engineered into society to curtail the enthusiasm of people that wish to follow those routes. It opens doors for the control of the people when there's a hard day coming for the old crew. It will take some courage, I think, in the part of some people, those that find themselves in a difficult, front-line position with intelligence agencies and agendas that are not disclosed in an honest fashion to our people.
No, they want to keep us in the dark.
Absolutely in the dark.
Definitely.
But what I am encouraged by, with the help that we've been given with these last 3 books, help that has come right off of that screen. It has been really extraordinary. We call them the angels. We don't ask for it. Where we have difficult information to confirm, where we need our sources, it's come onto my email just like that. When I've needed it, often supplying it to Cynthia to write in. And a day ahead, when I've said to Cynthia, I'm not the expert in this particular field that we're looking at, I can't get to the sources, and boom, there it is. So I would say we're being given a lot of help.
Well, go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to ask you to define consciousness from your perspective.
It's a great question, and it always comes up because every person that answers it differently. And in analysing and assessing, I know deep inside me what I see consciousness to be, but almost every time it comes out of my mouth in describing it, it comes out in various fashions. It's very hard to say. What I would say, the simple way to put it through my synthesis is that it is the intelligent part of intelligence. It's where emotion and action manifest through the life force of an intelligent construct, and that it is a permeable, connected system which connects everything that is alive. It is, and there's a lot of scientific support for that, because you may well be aware of the brain neurological experiments that are going on at University of Berkeley, where they're looking at the motor neurons and the mirror neuron connections between individuals. And it's simply staggering that each of our motor neurons are networked between one another, and that at some level, it's all scientifically proven, again it's on my website, that I will know up to 6 seconds ahead of your next question or your next answer, whatever it is I'm relating, from my side to you. And when you ask me a question, a yes/no answer, my motor neurons and your motor neurons, up to 6 seconds ahead of the actual answer, knows what it is I'm going to say. Now that's proven by it's a technical way that they have discovered on colouring the groupings of the motor neurons, so that they show up yellow, for example, in this equipment, with your yes answering, positive yes answering to any question, and that says no has an energy to it, whether it is a no related to anything, and that is already biased in the motor neurons for the mirror neurons, because my motor neurons is what commands me to speak. So you asked me a question, and before my motor neurons are in command of what I'm going to say to you, all of our mirror neurons have already had the conversation, which raises a lot of questions. It raises, are we in control of the agenda? Whose plan is this? And where are the commands coming from?
I was trying to relate it to telepathy.
Yeah.
Does it validate telepathy?
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, what's happening at the moment in the work that's going on in CERN is looking for the God particle, that particle which is in control and communicates over time and space is nothing, so that the telepathy, the ability to read and remote view, and I'm a remote viewer myself, I discovered by accident years ago, but it's shocking what we are all capable of doing and knowing. As you were saying with telepathy, totally valid. There are many experiments, many excellent remote viewers. We go into some detail with a case of, perhaps I should relate this very quickly, if I may. Please tell me if some of my answers are too long.
No,
because, we've got about 20 minutes, so I want to make sure we get as much as we can.
So I'll taper them back. Many of your viewers will know Annie Haslam of the Renaissance group of some years back in Britain, now living in this country. Well, I know Annie quite well, and without going through all the detail, she took some photographs of the very severe snowstorm we had a couple of years ago. She lives in Pennsylvania, but they and we here in Connecticut had this very heavy snowstorm. She'd taken a picture out in the backyard, and on that photograph was an extraordinary disc, and with all kinds of apertures and coding and stuff. I instigated a particular research and got optical experts, a lot of experts around the world, to look at this.
Was it like an orb or different?
Yeah.
It's like an orb?
Yeah,
Okay.
very much so. Structured in a ways that I've not ever seen before. And we did a lot of work for about 6 months. All the obvious questions were